First introduced in 2004, this 6-axle, 4,300 horsepower AC traction diesel locomotive was born out of necessity. As two-tier EPA regulations loomed in the distance, EMD needed a new locomotive to meet these standards. Thus, the successor to the SD70ACe was created. Although similar to earlier SD70 units mechanically, the SD70ACe rides on a new underframe which uses mostly sheet metal above said frame. To allow easier maintenance access, the electrical cables and air lines were routed beneath the walkways on either side. Like the SD80 and SD90 series, the radiator is almost as wide as the cab. The center hood is a step down below the footline, and the dynamic brakes have been moved to the rear of the hood. The cab design is the same as the late model SD90ACe units, which uses rectangular window glass and is very different from the cabs on earlier SD70M and SD70MAC units. To help solve the issue of excessive cab vibration many railways complained about, EMD standardized isolated cabs. In January 1st, 2015, the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency put their T4 locomotive emission regulations into effect. The SD70ACe was designed to comply with the agency's Tier 3 regulations. However, EMD has been unsuccessful at being able to modify the build to comply with the new Tier 4. The result is that the locomotive can no longer be built for use in the United States. What will this mean for the class of locomotive? According to the Wikipedia, EMD have designed a new Tier 4 variant, however it only carries the name of SD70ACe. This new T4 locomotive has been completely overhauled with features such as a newly redesigned cab, similar to the earlier SD70M, with crew favorite pork chop teardrop windshields, new trucks, a longer frame, and many more options. Even though new locomotives of the original SD70ACe cannot be built, hopefully those already in service can still be used. To honor their histories, the Norfolk and Southern and Union Pacific Railways started what is known as the Heritage Unit Program. What this entails is a selection of locomotives of various classes, sporting liveries from the railways long past. I myself have seen several run through the yard I work at in Conway, PA. Number 8114 sporting the original NS livery, and number 8025 the Monongahela, to name a couple. Of the SD70ACes, there are 10 locomotives in the NS roster and 6 in the UP roster. Unlike Union Pacific, whose liveries were inspired by the railway the locomotives represent, Norfolk and Southern uses the actual liveries the railways once used. Regardless, these engines are a beauty to look at. On the NS roster we have number 1068 featuring the Erie Railroad, number 1072 with the Illinois Terminal, number 1074 wearing Delaware, Lackawanna, and Western, number 1071 wearing Central Railroad of New Jersey, number 1066 with New York Central, number 1073 with Penn Central, number 1067 featuring the B-Line service livery from Reading Lines, number 1065 sporting the Savannah and Atlanta Railway, number 1069 from the Virginian Railway, and finally number 1070 with the Wabash Railroad. Lined up on the UP roster we have number 1995 inspired by the Chicago and Northwestern Railroad, number 1989 inspired by the Denver and Rio Grande Western Railroad, number 1988 inspired by the Missouri-Kansas-Texas Railroad, number 1982 inspired by the Missouri Pacific Railroad, number 1996 inspired by the Southern Pacific Railroad, and finally number 1983 inspired by the Western Pacific. The designers of the in-game models have captured each and every engine's appearance flawlessly. They are sold in 2 separate DLC packs on Steam, the NS set and the UP set. If you are a lover of any of these engines, it is well worth it to purchase these sets for your simulator. And those of you eager for a picture of these beauties at work in PA, don't worry, I will try my best to update their location at heritageunits.com if I see any of them in the yards as I work. Just remember not to go get yourselves in trouble as you snap those shots.